appreciate your coming in today.
Thank you so much.
Right foot here, cameras over here. This is the Go Local Studio.
Hi, how are you?
Where we're able to bring folk stories right to them here.
Absolutely.
We've had a couple candidates in so far, but we just like to get the story.
Okay.
The Ward 3 story, why you decided to run. Maybe we'll start with that.
Well, I decided to run. Well, there are many reasons why I decided to run. I think that we need more representation in city council, especially now we're in this Trump era. In the state of our federal government, we have a lot of people who are making decisions who don't even understand how to be just regular citizens who live in the country. And I think that we need more people from diverse backgrounds to be leaders in our city at the state level as well as at the federal level. And we also need more women in office as well as people of color. And so I'm running for all of those reasons.
And what's your political background? You run before. I mean, when did you get bit by the political bug?
Well, this is the first time I've ever ran for an office. It's actually very interesting because I was talking to my father, and one of the things that he said was, remember a few years ago I told you that you should run for office one day? It never came to mind. It's nothing that I ever dreamed of necessarily. I come from an immigrant family. I was an immigrant. I moved to Rhode Island, to Providence when I was 3. So you're really focused on just doing well, getting to college, graduating and doing something with your life. But running for office was never something that came to mind. But I think with everything again that's happened at the federal level, I just thought, you know what, we need more voices. We need more strong voices to represent our city, to represent our communities.
So you've been walking around Ward 3, talking with folks. What are you hearing on the streets when you talk with folks in the ward?
So we had an undebate about a week ago. And talking to people, I mean, there's a major concern around sidewalks. I'm a runner and a biker. I've fallen multiple times with blood dripping down my legs and my elbows. But there's also some significant issues, like there's violence in the Mount Hope neighborhood where people have gotten shot. I mean, just recently, Memorial Day weekend, there was a shooting, and it was not far from my home. My son had left to go visit, to go meet some friends near the JCC Nathan Bishop to play basketball. And I was worried because I thought something happened to him. And we started this chain of text messages, texting neighbors, trying to figure out what happened, how we can help. And so there's a major issue in terms of violence, and there's a significant divide in our community. And we need to figure out as a community, how do we cross those invisible lines? And so during the undebate, people talked about how we as a community, because Ward 3 is very diverse.
Oh, yeah.
You have one of the oldest Black communities, free Black communities in our country. We also have a significant Jewish population. We have immigrants. We have people from various parts of the world who speak various languages. So it's important for us to engage with one another, which is why I'm part of the group called the Eastside Community Alliance. And I co-chair the Youth and Education Committee. But some of the things that we've been doing is figuring out how to address the issues around the divide that exists in Ward 3. And so that was one of the main themes of the undebate, is the division and how do we bring various groups of people together to collectively come up with solutions to address the issues that are impacting our beautiful community that we all love and we want to support.
And you're out there, as you said, every night you must be out knocking on doors. How many folks, I mean, I've talked with candidates who've been in here. Do you have a goal to say, I'd like to get to 5 houses tonight, I'd like to get to 10 houses? 20. The cues just keep going up, Kate.
I'm a little ambitious. I would like to, there was one night I had 70 something people on my list, and I wanted to finish, and I think I had like 10 left, and I was so disappointed in myself that I did not finish, but I was starving. It was 90, it was one of those days where it was like 90 degrees outside. I was sweating. It was to the point where like bugs were sticking at me, but I was really determined. So, I want to visit as many people as possible, but I also don't want to necessarily rush because I want to hear my neighbors' concerns. I want to take the time to listen to them. And the stories that they've shared from people who've been living in the community for over 50 years. You have families who moved from down south in the late 1950s or 60s with their churches just to move to Ward 3, or people who sent their children to MLK and Hope High School, and who've just watched the community change. And so it's just interesting to hear their stories and really engage with my neighbors. So I try to go to as many houses as possible and talk to as many people, but
it's a balance.
It's a balance.
It's
absolutely,
a balance.
Absolutely.
So what would you like folks to know about you? You've talked about your interest in running for office, but you know, there's a bunch of folks who are in the race. So you know, if you're here and you're making the plug, why are you the one for Ward 3?
Well, why am I the one for Ward 3? So I am a Providence native. I graduated from the Providence Public Schools. I went to Mount Pleasant High School. I have children who are receiving a free public education. I've been a member of both the Nathan Bishop as well as MLK PTO. I serve on community, groups. I've been doing the work. I have both professional and lived experiences, and I've been out there. And before this election, I've been in my community working with other people to come up with ideas to resolve the problems. And we also need honest and transparent government within city council. And I think I could do the work because I've rolled up my sleeves. I haven't been afraid to have difficult conversations with my neighbors and people outside of my ward as well. And so we need someone who's ready to take on this task and hit the streets and start doing the work. And I'm ready for that. I've been doing it already.
So as you said, getting outside the ward, that was sort of my next question. You talked about the issues facing the ward, what you're hearing from folks citywide. You know, if you're on a council that have other members, other wards as well, what are the biggest issues in your views facing the city right now? You know, we'll start with financial and go from there.
Well, the financial issue is significant. And it's not an issue that just occurred overnight. We've had it for many years. But the only way for us to address it is for City Council to come together to work not only with our mayor's office, but with our state legislators to come up with solutions, again, to resolve our financial issue. We can't think about resolving it just for the next election. We have to have long-term goals, 10 to 20-year long-term goals of how we can address the financial issues. And also, these financial issues are also impeding just resources for our education system. And we need to invest more in our schools, in our students. And I'm so happy that the mayor's budget included an increase for our schools, but we need more resources. I mean, if you think about the buildings, it's going to be over $1 billion just to fix the buildings that our students are learning in. And so we need to, again, work with our state legislators, work with City Council to collectively figure out how do we balance the budget to ensure that we're not adding more debt to our balance sheet, and just work together to make sure that we're investing in the right areas for our city.
What did you think of how things played out at the council level with the Community Safety Act, with what transpired, the first vote, the sort of rescinding, the sort of coming together and calling it something else? It was such a hot button issue that folks were really fired up about. What did you think about how that all played out?
So I went to the protest at City Hall. I was really excited when it passed the first time, and then when they decided to table it, I was both shocked and disappointed. However, I am very happy that the we're no longer calling it the CSA, but we're still referring to it as the CSA, that it did pass, because we need a set of protocols to hold our police officers accountable. We just do. We need to make sure that the police officers are here to serve the community. They're charged to serve and protect, and that's what they should be doing. And it's really important for us to have, again, protocols to make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to do and that people feel safe, and also for them to build a relationship with the community that they're serving, because the disconnect is problematic. And so we need to do more to ensure that they understand the people that they're working with, they're stopping, and they're not just doing it based on solely because to identify if someone's an immigrant or not, or solely because of the color of the person's skin. And so again, we need to hold our police officers accountable.
And one other kind of hot button issue that just occurred here recently, the smoking ban downtown that the city council took up. And again, went to the mayor, vetoed it, went back, overridden. What's your thought about that in terms of how they approach that, or does downtown need that?
Well, I'm not a smoker. However, I do think that the smoking ban it's marginalizing the poor and the homeless. And I don't see how we can use scarce resources on, a group of people who don't have money to pay if they're fined or if they're arrested. And so I think the resources can be used elsewhere. I think what would be beneficial if we had opportunities for the homeless, if we had a resource center, which I know the mayor's office is working on right now.
Literally right now.
To get housing. To get employment opportunities, to assist people who may have addiction problems. I think that's what we need to focus on. But having a ban where we're going to attack or criminalize the poor or the low income, I think it's not right.
And what else? As we talked about finances, some of the bigger issues facing the council, what would you like to see if what would you sort of take up as your mantle? What hasn't the council touched upon that you think that should be addressed? That's a tough question.
It is. Well, that is a tough question, but I think right now there are a lot of things that we're doing that haven't been properly evaluated, and I just feel that we are spending money in areas, but we're not necessarily evaluating how the money's being spent or if those programs or initiatives are successful. So I think we need to take a step back. City Council needs to take a step back, evaluate the programs that they've already invested in, determine if it's working, and if it's not, then we need to figure out what we're going to do with that. And then we can decide if we need to implement something new. But until then, I think we need to really focus on what we're doing right now and make sure that we're doing it well. We have a tendency of starting something new without necessarily finishing what we've already started. So we need to stop that process.
Very good point. We've covered so many things, from the board to the city politics, and as you said, national politics really getting you involved. Is there anything that we haven't hit upon that you think folks should know?
I don't think so. Not that I could think of right now.
Well, I thought this was a good forum to just bring candidates in to be able to connect directly with viewers. We're live now. We'll clip it and send it to you after the fact so you can say, here I am. Keep us up to speed with what's going on. And we keep saying that it's 2018, but there's a Senate race and a special race for the city council. So I know how busy you are coming in today to talk a little bit about your candidacy, and I'm sure we'll talk soon and see you out and about soon moving forward.
Thank you so much for having me, and please visit electnirva.com and also visit my Facebook page. Thank you so much. I truly appreciate it.
I appreciate your coming in.